What if I told you that 4 tiny pennies, coins most people ignore every single day, could be worth more than a brand new car or even a house? It sounds unbelievable, but it's absolutely real. Hidden among ordinary pocket change are a few legendary wheat pennies that collectors are desperately searching for. Coins so rare and valuable that one small discovery could completely change your life. In today's video, we're counting down the top 4 wheat pennies you need to look for right now. These aren't just old coins. They're historic treasures with shocking stories, rare minting mistakes, and auction prices that have stunned even expert collectors. From wartime errors to mysterious metal mix-ups, each one has a secret that makes it incredibly valuable. But here's the most exciting part. Many of these coins still show up in circulation, old jars, and forgotten collections. That means you could already have one without even knowing it. So before you spend another penny, watch this carefully. Because one of these 4 coins could be sitting in your pocket, and you might be seconds away from discovering a hidden fortune. So get started first up. What if I told you that a simple, ordinary-looking penny from 1951, one you might ignore without a second glance, could secretly be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars? Not because it's gold, not because it's ancient, but because of tiny details most people never notice. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating story of the 1951 wheat penny, a coin that has quietly become a treasure hunter's dream, hiding in plain sight for decades. The year was 1951. America was stepping into a new era after World War II, and the U.S. Mint was working at full speed to produce coins for a growing economy. In Denver, millions of pennies were struck bearing the D mint mark. To the average person, these coins were just everyday currency, used to buy candy, pay for newspapers, or tossed into jars and forgotten. But what no one realized at the time was that among those millions, a few very special coins were being created, coins that would one day shock collectors with their value. The 1951 wheat penny features the classic design that collectors love. On the front, you'll see Abraham Lincoln's portrait, a design that has been in use since 1909. It was created by Victor David Brenner and marked the first time a real historical figure appeared on a U.S. coin. On the reverse, 2 elegant wheat stalks frame the words 1 cent and United States of America. This iconic wheat penny design remained in circulation until 1958, making coins like the 1951 part of a beloved and historic series. Now, here's where things start to get interesting. While over 625 million 1951 pennies were minted, not all of them are equal. In fact, most are only worth a few cents today, but hidden among them are rare varieties, mint errors, and high-grade examples that can be worth a fortune. And the difference between a common coin and a valuable one often comes down to details so small, they're easy to miss. Let's talk about condition, because this is one of the biggest factors that can turn an ordinary coin into a valuable one. Most 1951 pennies you'll find have been heavily circulated. They've passed through countless hands, picked up scratches, lost their shine, and worn down over time. These coins are usually worth just a few cents to maybe a dollar. But if you find one in uncirculated condition, meaning it was never used in everyday transactions, you could be holding something much more valuable. In pristine, mint-state condition, a 1951 wheat penny can sell for $10, $20, or even more depending on its quality. But here's where it gets really exciting. Coins graded at the very top of the scale, like MS-66 or MS-67, can fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. These are coins that look almost perfect, with sharp details, brilliant luster, and minimal imperfections. And they are incredibly rare. But condition isn't the only thing to look for. Some of the most valuable 1951 pennies are those with mint errors, tiny mistakes made during the coin's production process. These errors are what truly ignite the passion of collectors, because they make each coin unique. One of the most sought-after errors is the RPM, or repunched mint mark. This happens when the D mint mark was stamped more than once in slightly different positions. To the naked eye, it might just look like a normal D, but under magnification, you can see doubling or shadow-like impressions. A strong RPM on a 1951 D penny can significantly increase its value, sometimes reaching $50, $100, or more depending on the clarity of the error. Another fascinating error to watch for is die cracks. These occur when the metal die used to strike the coin begins to crack from repeated use. The result? Thin raised lines running across the surface of the coin. While some collectors overlook these, others actively seek them out, especially if the cracks are dramatic or form unusual patterns. Then there are off-center strikes. Imagine a coin that wasn't perfectly aligned when it was struck. Part of the design might be missing, shifted to one side, or unevenly stamped. These errors are visually striking and highly collectible. Depending on how off-center the strike is, a 1951 D penny like this could be worth anywhere from $20 to several $100s. And we can't forget about double die errors. While they're more famous in other years, slight doubling can still occur on 1951 D pennies. Look closely at the lettering, especially Liberty and In God We Trust. If you see clear doubling, you might have a very desirable coin in your hands. Now, here's the part that truly surprises people. Some 1951 D wheat pennies have sold for astonishing prices at auction. High-grade examples with exceptional eye appeal have crossed the $1,000 mark. And coins with unique or rare error combinations can go even higher. These aren't just coins anymore. They're pieces of history, preserved in near-perfect condition, and fiercely competed for by collectors around the world. Why are collectors so obsessed with this particular coin? It's not just about rarity. It's about the thrill of the hunt. The idea that a valuable coin could still be sitting in a jar, a drawer, or even your pocket change is incredibly exciting. Unlike rare artifacts locked away in museums, these coins are still out there, waiting to be discovered. Think about it. How many times have you handled pennies without even looking at them? How many have you spent without a second thought? What if one of those coins was a rare 1951 D with a hidden error? What if you unknowingly let go of something worth hundreds of dollars? That's what makes coin collecting so addictive and so rewarding. It turns everyday objects into potential treasures. It encourages you to slow down, pay attention, and see value where others don't. If you want to start searching for valuable 1951 D wheat pennies, here's what you should do. First, check the date and mint mark. The D should be located just below the year on the front of the coin. Next, examine the coin's condition. Does it still have shine? Are the details sharp? The better the condition, the higher the potential value. Then, grab a magnifying glass or a coin loop. Look closely at the mint mark for signs of repunching. Check the lettering for doubling. Inspect the surface for cracks, unusual marks, or anything that looks different from a normal coin. These small details can make a huge difference. Also, consider storing any promising coins properly. Use coin holders or protective cases to prevent damage. Even a small scratch can reduce a coin's value significantly. Treat your coins like the treasures they might be. As we come closer to the end of this journey, one thing becomes clear. The 1951 D wheat penny is more than just a piece of copper. It's a reminder that value isn't always obvious. Sometimes it's hidden in the smallest details. Next up, what if one of the most valuable coins in the world looked exactly like an ordinary penny you've seen 1,000 times before? No shine, no gold, no special markings, just a simple date, 1944, and no mint mark. Most people would spend it without a second thought. But what if that tiny detail could mean the difference between 1 cent and a life-changing payday? The story of a 1944 wheat penny begins during one of the most intense periods in history, World War II. In 1943, the United States Mint made a dramatic change. Copper was desperately needed for wartime supplies like ammunition and electrical wiring, so pennies were made from zinc-coated steel instead. These steel cents looked completely different, silver in color, and they stood out instantly. But the following year, in 1944, the mint returned to using copper, or at least, that's what was supposed to happen. Here's where things get interesting. The 1944 wheat penny with no mint mark was struck in Philadelphia, the main U.S. mint facility. Unlike coins from Denver or San Francisco, Philadelphia coins at that time typically did not carry a mint mark. So no mint mark is actually normal for this coin. Millions of these pennies were produced using recycled copper, often sourced from spent shell casings from war. That alone gives the 1944 penny a powerful historical connection. Each coin is literally part of wartime history. At first glance, the 1944 wheat penny looks like any other coin from the era. On the front, you'll see Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile, along with the words "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1944. On the back, the iconic wheat stalk design frames 1 cent and United States of America. It's a design that millions of people handled every day, never realizing that some of these coins would one day become incredibly valuable. Now, here's the twist that turns this ordinary penny into a collector's dream. While most 1944 pennies were made from copper, a few were accidentally struck on leftover steel planchets from 1943. That's right, some 1944 pennies are actually made of steel, not copper. And if you ever find one, you could be holding one of the rarest and most valuable coins in existence. A genuine 1944 steel wheat penny with no mint mark is extremely rare. Only a handful are known to exist, and when one appears at auction, it can sell for jaw-dropping amounts, often exceeding $75,000, and in some cases reaching well over $100,000 depending on condition. These coins are considered legendary in the coin collecting world. So how can you tell if you have one? The easiest test is simple. Use a magnet. A normal 1944 copper penny will not stick to a magnet, but a steel penny will. If your 1944 penny sticks, you need to stop everything and take a closer look because that could be an extraordinary discovery. But even if your coin is not steel, don't lose hope. There's still plenty of valuable 1944 no mint mark pennies out there. Condition plays a huge role in value. Most circulated coins are worth a few cents to a couple of dollars. But uncirculated examples, those that were never used in daily transactions, can be worth $10, $20, or much more. And then there are the high-grade coins. If your 1944 penny is in near-perfect condition, with sharp details and bright original luster, it could be worth hundreds of dollars. Some top-grade examples have sold for over $1,000 at auction, especially when graded by professional services. But the real excitement comes from mint errors, because that's where ordinary coins become extraordinary. One of the most popular errors is the double die. This happens when the coin's design is struck more than once, slightly misaligned. Look closely at the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." If you see clear doubling, you might have a highly collectible coin. Another error to watch for is off-center strikes. These coins look visibly misaligned, with part of the design missing or shifted. The more dramatic the error, the more valuable the coin can be, sometimes reaching hundreds of dollars. There are also die cracks, cuds, and other fascinating imperfections caused by worn or damaged minting equipment. Each of these errors tells a story about how the coin was made, and collectors love that uniqueness. Now imagine this: a coin that once bought a piece of candy in 1944, now selling for thousands of dollars. It sounds unbelievable, but it's happening all the time. People are discovering valuable coins in old jars, inherited collections, and even pocket change. So why are collectors so obsessed with the 1944 wheat penny? It's not just about money. It's about history, rarity, and the thrill of discovery. This coin represents a moment in time when the world was at war, resources were scarce, and even something as small as a penny carried the weight of global events. And the best part? These coins are still out there. Unlike rare treasures locked behind museum glass, 1944 wheat pennies can still be found in circulation, coin rolls, and forgotten collections. That means anyone, yes, even you, has a chance to find one. If you want to start searching, here's what to do. First, check the date, 1944. Then confirm there's no mint mark under the date. That means it was made in Philadelphia. Next, test it with a magnet. If it sticks, you may have something incredibly rare. Then examine the coin closely for errors, unusual features, or exceptional condition. And remember, don't clean your coins. Cleaning can actually reduce their value significantly. Collectors prefer coins in their original state, even if they look worn. As we reach the end of this journey, one powerful idea remains. The most valuable treasures are often the ones hiding in plain sight. The 1944 wheat penny with no mint mark is proof that even the smallest, most ordinary object can hold extraordinary value. So the next time you come across a penny, don't ignore it. Don't spend it without a second look, because that tiny coin could be worth far more than you ever imagined. And who knows, your next penny might be a hidden fortune waiting to be discovered. Next up, what if the next penny you pick up, the one you almost ignore, the one sitting quietly in a jar or buried in your pocket, is actually worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars? It sounds unbelievable, but that's exactly the mystery surrounding the 1946 wheat penny with no mint mark. A coin that looks completely ordinary, yet holds secrets that collectors are desperately trying to uncover. The year 1946 marked a powerful turning point in history. World War II had just ended, and the United States was entering a new era of rebuilding and economic growth. The U.S. Mint resumed normal coin production after years of wartime adjustments, and among the coins being struck in massive numbers was the Lincoln wheat penny. In Philadelphia, where coins typically carried no mint mark, millions of 1946 pennies were produced, each one intended for everyday use, with no thought that some would one day become highly valuable collectibles. At first glance, the 1946 wheat penny with no mint mark looks like any other coin from the era. On the front, you'll see Abraham Lincoln's iconic profile, designed by Victor David Brenner. The inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1946 surround the portrait. Flip it over, and you'll find the classic wheat stalk design framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. This design, used from 1909 to 1958, is one of the most recognizable in American coin history. But here's where things start to get exciting. While over 1 billion 1946 pennies were minted in Philadelphia alone, not all of them are created equal. In fact, most are only worth a few cents today, but hidden among them are rare varieties, mint errors, and high-grade coins that could be worth far more than their face value. Let's start with condition, because this is where the value can skyrocket. Most 1946 pennies have been heavily circulated. They've been used, dropped, scratched, and worn down over decades. These coins usually hold very little value beyond their copper content. But if you find one in uncirculated condition, meaning it has never been used in everyday transactions, you could be looking at a coin worth $10, $20, or more. Now, if your coin is in exceptional condition, what collectors call mint state, the value increases dramatically. Coins graded MS 65 or higher can sell for $50, $100, or even several $100s. And in rare cases, near-perfect examples with stunning luster and sharp details have reached over $1,000 at auction. These coins are incredibly hard to find because most were used extensively during their lifetime. But condition is just the beginning. The real treasure lies in mint errors, tiny mistakes that occurred during the coin's production. These errors are what turn an ordinary penny into something extraordinary. One of the most sought-after errors for the 1946 wheat penny is the double die. This occurs when the coin's design is impressed more than once, slightly offset, creating a visible doubling effect. Look closely at the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." If you notice strong doubling, you could have a highly collectible coin worth significantly more than a standard penny. Another error to watch for is off-center strikes. These coins were not properly aligned during minting, resulting in a design that appears shifted or partially missing. The more dramatic the misalignment, the higher the value, sometimes reaching hundreds of dollars depending on the severity. Then there are die cracks and cuts, raised lines or blobs on the coin caused by damaged minting dies. While these might seem like flaws, collectors actually love them because they make each coin unique. Some dramatic examples have sold for impressive prices simply because of their unusual appearance. There are also lamination errors, where the metal surface appears to peel or split due to impurities in the planchet. These errors can be visually striking and highly desirable among collectors. Now here's something that surprises many people. Even though the 1946 wheat penny is common overall, Finding one in truly pristine condition or with a strong, clear error is incredibly rare. That's why collectors are constantly searching through rolls of pennies, old collections, and even pocket change, hoping to discover that one special coin. And yes, it happens more often than you think. People have found valuable coins in inherited jars, garage sales, and bank coin rolls. Coins that were once considered worthless suddenly become prized possessions, sometimes selling for hundreds or thousands of dollars. So why is the 1946 no mint mark penny so fascinating? Because it represents a moment in history, a time of recovery, change, and new beginnings. It's a coin that passed through the hands of people living in a post-war world, carrying stories we can only imagine. And yet, it still exists today, waiting to be rediscovered. If you want to start your own treasure hunt, here's what to do. First, check the date, 1946. Then confirm there's no mint mark under the date. That means it was minted in Philadelphia. Next, examine the coin's condition. Does it still have its original shine? Are the details sharp and clear? Then, use a magnifying glass or coin loop to inspect for errors. Look closely at the lettering for doubling. Check the edges and surfaces for cracks, unusual marks, or anything that stands out. These small details can make a huge difference in value. And one important rule, never clean your coins. Cleaning can damage the surface and significantly reduce their value. Collectors prefer coins in their original, untouched condition, even if they look worn. As we come to the end of this journey, one powerful truth stands out. The value of something isn't always obvious. Sometimes it's hidden beneath the surface, waiting for someone curious enough to discover it. The 1946 wheat penny with no mint mark is a perfect example of this. It's a coin that millions of people overlooked, but a few lucky individuals recognized its potential and were rewarded for it. So the next time you see a penny, don't ignore it. Don't assume it's worthless. Take a closer look, because that small, simple coin could be worth far more than you ever imagined. And who knows, your next discovery might already be in your pocket, just waiting for you to notice it. What if the next penny you see, the one you almost leave behind on a table or toss into a jar without thinking, is actually worth far more than 1 cent? What if a small detail, something most people never notice, could turn that ordinary coin into a hidden treasure? Today, we're uncovering the powerful and surprising story of the 1956 wheat penny with no mint mark, a coin that millions have seen, but only a few truly understand. The year was 1956, a time when America was booming with growth, innovation, and everyday life moving at full speed. The U.S. Mint was producing coins in massive numbers to keep up with demand, and in Philadelphia, the main mint facility, pennies were struck without any mint mark. That means if you have a 1956 wheat penny with no mint mark, it was made in Philadelphia. And while that might sound common, the real story lies beneath the surface. At first glance, the 1956 wheat penny looks completely ordinary. On the front, you'll see the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, along with the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1956. Flip the coin over, and you'll find the classic wheat stalk design framing 1 cent and United States of America. This design had been in use since 1909 and would soon be replaced just 2 years later in 1958, making the 1956 penny one of the final issues of the iconic wheat series. Now here's where things start to get interesting. Over 420 million 1956 pennies were minted in Philadelphia alone. That's a huge number, which means most of these coins are still relatively common today. In circulated condition, they're usually worth only a few cents to maybe $1. But hidden among those millions are rare, high-grade examples and error coins that can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Let's talk about condition first, because this is one of the biggest factors in determining value. Most 1956 pennies have been used in everyday transactions. They've been scratched, worn down, and lost their original shine over time. These coins are considered circulated and generally hold minimal value. But if you find one that looks almost brand new, sharp details, bright luster, no visible wear, you could be holding something much more valuable. Coins in uncirculated or mint state condition can sell for $10, $20, or more. But the real excitement begins at the highest grades. A 1956 no mint mark wheat penny graded MS 66 or MS 67 can fetch hundreds of dollars at auction. These coins are incredibly rare because so few survived in such pristine condition. They were never used, never damaged, and preserved perfectly over decades. But condition alone isn't the only way to find value. The real hidden treasures often come from mint errors, tiny mistakes made during the coin's production process that create unique and collectible varieties. One of the most exciting errors to look for is doubling, especially on the obverse side. Check the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." If you notice a clear doubling effect, where the letters appear slightly duplicated, you may have a valuable double die coin. While not as famous as some earlier years, doubled features on a 1956 penny can still attract strong interest from collectors. Another error to watch for is die cracks. These appear as raised lines across the surface of the coin and are caused by cracks in the minting dies. Some die cracks are subtle, while others are bold and dramatic, creating unique patterns that collectors love. In certain cases, these coins can sell for significantly more than standard examples. Then there are off-center strikes, coins that were not properly aligned during minting. These can look visually striking, with part of the design missing or shifted. Depending on how off-center the coin is, values can range from $20 to several $100s. You might also come across lamination errors, where the metal surface appears to peel or split. These are caused by impurities in the metal and can make the coin look unusual and highly collectible. Now here's something that truly captures attention: auction records. While most 1956 pennies are common, high-grade examples have shocked collectors with their prices. Some near-perfect coins have sold for over $1,000, simply because of their incredible preservation and eye appeal. And when you combine high-grade with a rare error, the value can climb even higher. So why are collectors so fascinated by this coin? Because it represents the end of an era. Just 2 years later, in 1959, the wheat design was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse. That makes the 1956 wheat penny part of the final chapter of a historic coin series, one that millions of people grew up with, but few ever examined closely. And that's what makes this so exciting. These coins are not locked away in museums or private vaults. They're still out there in old jars, piggy banks, drawers, and even pocket change. That means anyone can find one. Anyone can discover a valuable coin without even realizing it. If you want to start your own search, here's what to do. First, check the date, 1956. Then confirm there's no mint mark under the date, indicating it was minted in Philadelphia. Next, examine the coin's condition. Look for strong details, minimal wear, and original shine. Then, take a closer look using a magnifying glass. Check for doubling in the lettering, unusual lines, or cracks, and anything that looks different from a normal coin. These small details can make a huge difference in value. And remember, never clean your coins. Cleaning can damage the surface and reduce the value dramatically. Collectors prefer coins in their natural, untouched state. As we reach the end of this story, one powerful idea stands out. Value is often hidden in plain sight. The 1956 wheat penny with no mint mark is proof that even the most ordinary object can hold extraordinary potential. So the next time you see a penny, don't ignore it. Don't assume it's worthless. Take a closer look, because that small, simple coin might be worth far more than you ever imagined. And who knows, your next hidden treasure could already be in your hands.